The move of the Permanent Multipurpose Module from the Unity, where it is now, to the Tranquility Module, where it will be, is the next step in a series of tasks that will leave the International Space Station able to accommodate more visiting vehicles in the coming years. And this morning we're going to talk about the thinking behind that plan with the station's Operations Integration Manager, Kenny Todd. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
You chaired a mission management team this morning. Is everything still go for the PMM move tomorrow?
Everything's in really good shape. We over the weekend got the arm moved to its location in order to accomplish this work, so everything still looks very good.
The Canadarm2 is the main mover here to move this pretty big module from one to another. Is it a particularly difficult robotic operation to move into that space?
Well, robotics in general is a little bit complicated. It's lots of angles, lots of arm movements, individual joint movements. But it's something we know how to do. Years ago when we were still flying shuttles, we used to berth MPLMs, for several missions, and so we know how to do that. This particular operation is a little bit complicated because we have some pretty tight clearances, but it's clearances we've operated with them before, so very confident that we can get this done successfully.
That's the thing that I noticed too. That moving it into this position on the front side of Tranquility, there's stuff that's close to the back end of it that you usually don't have in these kind of movements.
Yeah, no doubt. And in fact, the clearances were so tight that we had to go in and move some stuff on some previous EVAs just to ensure that we opened up the clearances that we felt like we needed in order to safely accomplish the task. But again, in talking with the robotics folks last week at our readiness review, they assured me that they have all the clearances they need, and in fact, extra margin on what they would typically say is a good clearance.
And the big question, though, is why? PMM has been in that spot for over 4 years and doing its job fine. Why do we want to move it to this new location?
Well, as a program, once we made the decision that we wanted to have commercial crew vehicles, we have commercial cargo vehicles, ensuring that we have enough places for berthing and docking those vehicles is something that became a priority here several years ago. And so we've been moving forward with this project over the last several years, building some additional hardware to ensure that we'll have 2 ports for berthing commercial crew vehicles, and also have 2 ports where we can service cargo vehicles as well. And so that's really what this has been all about.
Can you talk us through where those new ports are? Are they places that don't exist now, or we just don't recognize them?
You bet. If you just look at the commercial crew vehicles, at this point, what we've got in place is a plan to have a commercial vehicle, the crew vehicle that is capable of docking at the PMA2 location.
That's the very front end of the station.
Correct, at the very front end of the station. And all we need to do there is we need to attach a docking assembly to that PMA2. And so that's what we're going to do when we get SpaceX 7 up here in a few weeks. It'll bring the hardware that will allow us to do that, and we'll do that on an EVA, hopefully towards the end of the summer.
And that's the thing we hear referred to as an IDA, right?
Correct, the ISS docking assembly. That's correct. And then from there on, it gets a little more creative. When you go to look for that second commercial crew vehicle location, what we decided to do was use the Node 2 Zenith port. But it wasn't ready for a docking assembly the way it's currently configured. What we needed to do is we needed to move the pressurized mating adapter number 3, which is currently on the starboard side, or the port side of Node 3. We'll need to robotically move that over to the Node 2 Zenith location. And at that point, then we'll fly up another ISS docking assembly, and we will install it on that pressurized mating adapter number 3, which will be now on Node 2 Zenith.
And that puts places for commercial crew vehicles on the front and the bottom of Node 2.
On the top, it'll be on the top of on the Zenith side. So we'll have the front, and then we'll have the top of Node 2 that we'll be able to put commercial crew vehicles there. And then in order to ensure that we have 2 commercial cargo vehicle ports, we decided we wanted to open up Node 1 Nadir, because our backup previously for the commercial cargo and HTV and HTV was to use that Node 2 Zenith location, but since we've now covered it up with a commercial crew vehicle location, we needed another commercial cargo vehicle location, and so we elected to move the Permanent Multipurpose Module, the PMM, that's currently on Node 1 Nader, and open up that location in order to have a backup location for commercial cargo vehicles.
And then still have the Node 2 Nader port that is being used for cargo vehicles now.
Correct. That's going to continue to be our primary location. That's the one we're most experienced with. We know how to operate the arm at that location, and so we're very comfortable with that. Over time, we'll probably get to the point where we're using Node 1 Nader in the same fashion, but certainly we'll still have Node 2 Nader available to us.
So PMM relocation is the first, or actually the next step, because this has been underway for some time. What comes after the PMM relocation? What will we see?
Sure. Once we get the PMM relocated, that really enables us to do quite a bit of work on the inside of station to start to run some ventilation lines, some power lines, some data lines, some cables that allow us to be able to talk to the PMM in its new location. We'll also be able to do some work down on the Node 1 Nader to get it configured to start receiving vehicles, cargo vehicles at that location. So we've got quite a bit to do on the inside. When we get out into the fall, you're going to hear us start talking about moving the pressurized mating adapter number 3 off of the port side of Node 3 and move it over to Node 2 Zenith. So that'll be probably the next big robotic operation that we'll do relative to a module. Probably towards the end of the summer is when we're going to try to get the docking assembly installed on PMA number 2, and at that point, then we will have a port that's available and ready to service a commercial crew vehicle
for whenever they're ready to fly.
You bet.
Long term, though, this is going to be into next year or longer before all of this reconfiguration is done.
Well, at this point, we'd like to have all the modules moved by the end of the year, and if we can get the docking assemblies on board, both of them, we would like to have both of those installed as well. So our goal is hopefully by the end of the year to do that, but a lot of that's related to when we can fly flights and get the hardware on board, and so that's going to be a limiting factor for us. But certainly by the end of the year, our goal is to at least have one of the docking ports up and running. As far as the commercial cargo vehicles, we feel like that we'll have Node 2 Nader. Again, will be operational and ready to go. Node 1 Nader, we're hoping by the fall will be operational and ready to accept vehicles at that location as well.
Let's say, and all of this pending the arrival of some other hardware that's required.
You bet. Yeah, that's a lot of this hardware is still going through its finish up in terms of its building and needs to get on a vehicle and get up there. But I think all the right hardware is slotted for the right vehicles. It's just getting them off the ground.
It'll be very exciting to see
Absolutely.
the changes coming.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Thanks very much.
It's my pleasure.
International Space Station Operations Integration Manager Kenny Todd.